Okay. Oh, that's for okay. Because I'm saying, Rooney, I could you could send this back and get it's the same price for a ring light as it is for this piece of shit.
And welcome to the Almost Irish podcast. I'm Dan Barry.
I'm badly lit Dennis Rooney.
I am Mick Thomas. How are you?
Well, Mick has so Mick decided we should all have like color backgrounds behind us. And in doing so, he's like, I'm gonna buy us green screens. The green screens are the size of a quarter. Like, I don't know how to describe it.
It got 4.5 stars on Amazon, so I don't know what fucking arseholes are using this.
Was it like 6 reviews though? Everyone knows you can't just use the quality of the reviews. You got to use quantity. There's got to be like 6,000 reviews before I'll trust it.
No, I don't. I didn't check. I just saw the stars. I mean, good enough for me.
Yep.
Well, you would think it'd be hard to fuck up a green screen.
Yeah, it's just
And they did, though. They really did.
It shows up and it's red. This is all.
For those of you watching this on YouTube, I'll just make the examine. So this is the green screen, and that's as big as it gets.
If we were doing a YouTube series about like a time portal that we had to jump into, maybe we could make it work.
Yeah,
Right.
If we're making Portal the spoof, then we're good.
Yeah.
You're coming in very light there, Dan. Now your voice is very soft.
Is it because I was so far away?
I don't know. What do you think, Rooney?
I think that Dan is showing poor mic control, and that when he does pull away, he needs to raise his voice.
I was just trying to show this. So what I'll do is I will now close it using the quote-unquote taco fold method. You fold it like a taco, and then you turn it.
And then you do what you would never do to a taco and just crush it in your hands.
Yeah, it looks like you just turned a taco into a burger.
It looks like you picked up a nerd's taco, and to bully him, you just like mushed it in front of his face.
Get that fucking Mexican cuisine out here. Let's make that an American burger.
That's funny, though. These guys are going to try and put their green screens away later and be like, what the fuck? It doesn't work.
Oh, no, I'm just going to throw mine in and put it away. That's been flung like a frisbee out into the street.
Mick's going to put a free sign on it.
There's a homeless person in Patchogue right now, just like, who would throw this away?
Yeah.
Like, hey, homeless guy, you want to go to the Caribbean? Put that green screen behind you and off you go.
No, I'm pretty sure he's sleeping. He's just like, this is the worst blanket I've ever had in my life.
Bugs Bunny took it and he's putting it on the floor so he can hot jump into it and people run into the hole. That's not going to work.
I do like the back of it, though. It has like these straps that you could use it as like a terrible shield.
Yeah. Or you're supposed to put it in the back of your chair.
It's right here.
But the best part about the green screen, Mick, do me a favor. Put the green screen on behind you.
Like, officially put it on?
Yeah, just put it right
This sucks for anybody listening, by the way.
No. This is for simply the YouTube audience, then we'll go into our bullshit. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to change the background of your computer to any color that you can possibly pull up on your...
All right, I'll go with yellow.
Yellow. There's a W on it, but no one's going to know. There it is. So...
Nightmare shit.
Everything but the green screen.
The green screen is still green, but everything else is yellow, including Mick's face.
Like it does. Okay, it's like I didn't brush my teeth. It's it was like almost like it does the opposite of what it was average, like literally the opposite.
Yeah. And you can click on I have a green screen. It goes, oh, do you? Well, fuck you. Don't tell me what you got.
Me arse does it.
All right. Well, we're back recording. This is we'll do one this week as opposed to last week where I had to do 2 in 1 week because I forgot to post the other one. Rooney informed us that he has like big topics. That he has like a notebook full of topics. So I figured
I didn't hear about this. Let's go.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna pitch over to Rooney.
I said I had one thing that happened to me that I felt super passionate about, and that was like a week ago now, and I'm over it. So we won't even talk about it.
I bet it wasn't got a new fucking internet connection.
Yeah, no.
No, it wasn't.
Is that the big news?
Is that how I'm coming in to you guys?
Sometimes it's just
intermittent.
But not now?
No, we hear you. So anyway, so tell us about your day, Rooney. What happened?
So my day, this happened like a week ago now, but
shut the fuck up. It's a podcast. No one knows that.
No, I'm a truth teller, Dan. Don't tell me to censor myself, all right? Next time, don't cancel the podcast. It'll be fresh, all right? How about that behind the curtain? So,
sorry guys.
Shut up. Last week I did a show in Brooklyn, in Bushwick, and it was very much like it's at the Tiny Cupboard. I'll say where it was, and not a great show in terms of audience. There's 2 people there, and then the producers did the thing where it's like, can all the comics sit in the room so it feels like a show?
I would have went home. You go home.
Wait, hold on. So Tiny Cupboard, correct me if I'm wrong about Tiny Cupboard. Don't you have to walk out into like a fire escape to get up to where the show is? Am I
Not that's if you're doing the cool rooftop. I was on the first floor church section. And to put it even into further perspective, as this horrible show is about to start, my buddy Mike Toohey, who's also on the show, the funny comedian, he says to me, he goes, I was just up on the roof. There's 200 people up there. So there's 200 people 2 stories up from where I'm doing my shitty show with 2 audience members.
Oh boy.
And a bunch of comics, right? And I mean, you guys have done shows like this. Mick, what's the least amount you've played to, though?
2 people. And
2 people. Well, you can't do a show to 1.
At Dangerfields and any other show, any other place, I would have been like, I'm going home. But you want to...
That's a crowd at Dangerfields.
They were a German couple, and they both got up and went to the bathroom.
That is amazing.
And so did you. You were like, I'm going to take a bathroom break.
I was just like looking at the piano, and he's like tapping it. Didn't know like what's disrespectful, what's not, because it's Rodney's piano.
You're like, can they hear me in the bathroom? Because a lot of clubs, the stage is mic'd into the bathroom, so you could be talking to them like, yeah, give it a good shake now. Make sure you dry it off. You know.
I thought it'd be bigger.
Yeah.
What are you fucking chicken in there? Jesus.
What about you, Dan? I mean, what's the least amount? 2 people?
Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club. It was 2 people.
It was 2 people at Uncle Vinny's?
2 people. He's like, you know what? Let's just do the show. Just do a shorter show. I just remember being like...
I love when they say let's do a short show, because it's like, I still feel like there's a pressure to do well. And it's just like, do well, but just do 15 minutes instead of 25, and it's like, you're bananas. There's 2 people here. Like,
it's like I want to put the microphone down, like sit at the table with them and just talk to them, because I would probably do better if that was the scenario. Like, rather than being the guy on the stage and they're just eating and looking at it, like if I sat down next to you and we had a conversation, conversationally I could be funny. You know what I mean? Like, I bring in anecdotes, I pull things in. But on stage, it's like, I was at the mall earlier, and it's like,
these pauses for punchlines, and you're just looking between the 2 of them back and forth.
I did one. I did a show up in New York, and way upstate Pennsylvania, and I bombed horrendously. I think I talked about that before on the show, and all of a sudden, at the end of it, like, so I'm waiting to get paid, and I'm in the kitchen, and I'm killing. Like, I should have just came up here and hung out in the kitchen and then went to the living room. You know what I mean? Just pretended I was a guest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just pay me to be like and then I started to think like, I think Chris, I don't know if you know who Chris Rush is, or was, he died recently, but he was like a physicist that was one of the funniest guys, apparently. Like, George Carlin used to work with him. Like, Carlin, he was George Carlin's favorite comedian. I got to work with him a few times, and I think he's dead now.
He had a bit of a beatnik jazz vibe to him.
Yeah, like tie-dyed shirts and everything. But he would get paid thousands upon thousands of dollars to go from apartment to apartment, like where they would have these parties, and he would just hang out with them. And instead of doing stand-up, he was just paid to be fucking funny in the kitchen, be funny in the living room. I thought like, when that happened to me, I was driving home and I was like, fuck, like that could be a job. Like, you could advertise that, just hire an undercover comedian. It's way better than an actual comedian.
Make your social gatherings better.
Yeah, if you're like funerals and whatnot, you know what I mean?
See, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I'm too locked into the stand-up where, like, if I feel like I sit down with these people in that moment, like Dan Barry was saying, it's like, I don't know why I used your last name, Dan Barry. I wouldn't be able to, I don't know. I just wouldn't give a shit. I'd have to feign interest. I'm very bad at feigning interest. You know what I mean?
I can't do that. I'm not good at it.
I'm great at it. I'm great at it. It's my favorite thing in the world to just be like, oh, really? Let's keep talking about what you want to talk about. Because it's just fun for me to, like...
Is that all this podcast is? You're just letting me and Mick go on like, oh, yeah, guys?
You're weird. It's like remember that time we were in South Carolina playing golf? And the guy was like 2 minutes into explaining shit. I was like, my God, how much longer is this explanation going to go
when you
on?
were real rude to a guy who was telling you what to do on his golf course.
I don't think I was rude.
You don't think you were. Of course you don't think you were.
Those were instructions, Mick. It wasn't like some anecdote this guy is telling. He's like, this is my job. I got to make sure you guys know this. Otherwise, you sue me.
Yeah, but I have played golf before. I know what you're going to say, mate.
Right, but there's course rules. And he was telling you the course rules. And you were like, oh, this fucking guy. And he's like, yeah, I can like hear you. I'm next to you.
Let's not get that's separate. Go several episodes back to hear about Mick being a piece of shit to the golf staff. All right.
It's one of the best ones.
This episode is about comics being pieces of shit to me.
Yeah. Here we go.
So it's one of those shows where, like, whatever. I've done shitty shows before. Obviously, it's not a paid gig. Like, I should be working on new stuff anyway. And, like, we'll go up. We'll see how it goes. And I'm going up, like, 4th, maybe out of, like, 6. And I keep noticing as the comics go up that, like, I'm sitting in the back row and my phone is on airplane mode. That's my policy, kind of like when I'm in a comedy club for the most part. Is like, phone's on airplane mode, especially if I'm in the showroom, whatever. All the comics who have been asked to come in and like act like the room's full and like we got a swinging show or just like show enthusiasm participation, like they're all on their phones, like faces lit up on their phones. And to make it even worse, all the comics have sat on one side and the 2 audience members are on the other side.
They're all pieces of shit. I don't know who they are. I don't give a fuck.
Liam Neeson.
I don't give a fuck if Bill Burr was sitting there, Louis C.K., Dave Chappelle. If they all did that, they're all pieces of shit. They're not comics. They don't respect the art. They are sycophants, fucking egomaniac pieces of cunt shit. They are bullshit. Whoever they are, they're pieces of shit. And you can tell them that. Just say, hey, guys, it's not good for me. Mick Thomas thinks you're all a piece of shit. That is the rudest fuck. First of all, whoever asked the audience, whoever said the comics, by the way, it's that person is like, it's like a pyramid scheme of assholes. And they're all assholes in the pyramid. But the guy at the very fucking top is the guy that said, hey, comics, can you pretend to be audience members? You're asking a bunch of egomaniacs who only want all the attention to sit in a room and get, dude, I watch YouTube guys.
It's a futile gesture. It's a futile effort. You know what I mean? I always say I hate being in the crowd watching. People have asked me, like, who would you go see live? And it's like very few people. Maybe like 2 people would I really go to see live. Otherwise, I'm in the show being like, not I should be up there, but like, I should be doing stand-up right now. You know what I mean? Or like, I would love to be up there, blah, blah, blah. It's a silly thing to ask comics to do.
It's dumb, but like, my point is, like, I watched you and we talked about when you got off stage. Remember you had that line and I talked to DC Benny, a legend, comedy legend, and DC Benny said, holy fuck, that's discipline and smart to do. And then we talked about it when you came off. I'm not going to go into the bit we're talking about, but I was like, holy fuck, that's a great bit. And then the same with Dan.
That's the bit. Sorry, go ahead.
But Dan killed this weekend, man. And it was just great to watch that shit, right? I didn't go like, let me go watch fucking Dan now. Let me go watch Rooney now. It's, you know what I mean? Like, I was there because I wanted to be. But if somebody said, hey, can you come in and pretend to be an audience member, I go fuck yourself. Like, it's dumb. They're assholes for doing that.
And if it's a full house or a half house or a quarter house and you're in the back kind of like on your phone, that doesn't bother me at all because now it rests on the shoulders of the audience. But when there's 2 people in the crowd and you've been asked to come in and participate as an audience member, I'm in the back. I'm watching everybody. I'm quiet. My phone's not, you know what I mean? I'm trying to be respectful.
The other thing is they don't turn the brightness down. Everyone leaves the brightness all the way up, so it's like you could see the details on their face. Like I could see, I could see your filthy fucking pores. Like, that's what bothers me more.
And I did, in fairness, and to offer a different perspective, I did talk to one of the producers afterwards, and I said, you know what, like maybe I'm the old guy, because I did bring it up when I was on stage. I was like, how are you guys going to be on your phones? I feel like I'm doing comedy in front of like the cool kids, blah, blah, blah. Like, don't. And the producers at least were like, well, we got to take photos and we're on Instagram, like plugging you guys and plugging the show. And I was like, I kind of get that, but then if that's the case, don't sit up front. Like they were literally sitting right up front.
What angle are you going to take of that show that makes it look like it was good for you to be on that stage?
Oh, it's just the comic on stage.
Right,
it's just the comic.
Yeah. It's, I remember when I did the Asheville Comedy Festival and I headlined whatever show it was on. and I asked a hypothetical question into the audience. Dan was there, and I look up, and as it's like a question that I don't care if an answer comes back or not. It's a hypothetical question, like, hey, what do you do if this, right? And I said something, and I looked up, and the first 3 rows were comics, and I went, well, why the fuck wouldn't you sit up front? Like the place was sold out. It was a narrow, long building. I don't know what that was, but my memory's gone. So minimum 100, maximum
16,000 people standing. I was there.
Easy.
I was there.
Easy, but like it was at least 200 people. I'm saying, right, on a narrow, and but the first 3 rows were all the comics, and I'm like, and then, you know, when you realize as you get older in comedy, you realize that these festivals, not the big ones, but these festivals are full of people who paid $50 to submit a tape.
Yeah.
And it's all new comics. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing sitting up front? 3 rows of comics, to the point where the guy at the festival comes up to me, you know, you shouldn't really shit on things that way. Well, you shouldn't put fucking comics in the front row. So the fact that you get cunty comics who sat and watched your set and fucking then just shine the light on their face like they're telling ghost stories.
It's like, you can also, I'll say this too. So there's the comics who are on the show who are in the room, but then there's like 2 or 3 comics who just came to hang out, which is fine even. But one of these comics is sitting next to me with a dog in her lap, and she's on her phone. I shit you not. From the time the show starts until the time the show ends, I don't think her phone went off. Like I was incalculable anger. I was feeling like rage.
Oh, you mean her phone didn't go off, as in she didn't turn it off, or it didn't like?
She never turned it off. She was on her phone the entire time. Like, at least some of the other people, they'd be on their phone, they put it down, they go back on the phone. She was on her phone the entire time. It's like, why did you even come here to hang out?
Small dog?
Very small dog. The dog was the best audience member.
No. It against the wall.
No.
It against the wall.
No. The puppy
you got her attention. Now you got everybody's attention.
She had a Saint Bernard in her lap.
2-hand, you're just pushing it against the wall over and over again.
It's not moving. It's like, fuck you.
An Irish wolfhound.
Yeah.
So this isn't even really the story, though. This is me just setting the context of where I'm at, you know?
It's a good show.
And I lived 5 blocks away from this place for 5 years before it opened. But like, I lived in this neighborhood for a while, you know, like I know the type of hipster show that I'm on, but I don't care. There's 2 people in the room that aren't comics. I'm just seeing how they feel about my bits and my new bits and whatever. So I go up 4th or whatever. I kind of call out the producers and all the comics for being on their phones. And
how much time do you have to do?
Like 8 minutes.
That's 7 minutes too long.
And so I kind of call them out, and then I kind of shit on the neighborhood, and I emphasize on, like, I like the room, but the neighborhood sucks. And the reason why I kind of doubled down on I like the room is right before I went on, 2 more audience members came in, but they weren't audience members. They were the owners of the place. Now, listen, this is a comedy club. It's not like they're booking their own shows. These are independently produced shows. So whatever, either you're producing or you're at that level, or you're up on the roof with 200 people and you're like fucking in, you know what I mean? The owners of the club, it doesn't really mean much, but still, the owners of the club are in the room while I'm on stage. Shit on the neighborhood a little bit, but I'm like, and then I keep going and I start doing my new stuff, and I close, and it's doing okay. And again, what does that even mean? There's 2 people in the room who aren't comics. This isn't the type of show you could really bomb on. I continue to do close with this cop bit, which is the bit you were talking about.
Right.
The whole here's the joke is more than this, and I'm not going to do the bit. I don't want to do that, but I do want to say one line from it, basically condensed, as I say, now the cops have a tough weekend, some people die. Monday morning, they got to send some guy out and say, go play basketball with some black kids, get it on video, put it on Facebook. There's more to it, but that's like my favorite line, and I think that's a good take. You know what I mean?
It's a great bit, by the way. It's a great bit.
You.
It really is.
I think it's a great bit. And I've done it now for about a year. Not as often as I normally would due to the pandemic, but I've been working this bit a lot, and I'm very confident in it. And it eats shit. Gets nothing. Because we're in Bushwick, and the joke starts with me being like, it's a tough time to be a cop. We've probably talked about this before. Whatever. The joke eats it. I let the silence sit for a minute, and I pull a Mick Thomas where you don't hit the punchline and be like, good night, everybody. Blah, 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 blah. You hit the punch, you sit in it, and you go, all right, everybody, good night. That's the Mick Thomas. That's what I always say. Yeah. But instead of Mick Thomas normally getting big laughs while he sits in it, I just sitting in silence for like 2 seconds, and I go, all right, good night, everybody. And like awkward. People are like, it feels much more awkward than it should because I have no problem eating shit. I had a real worse bomb more recently. There's no such thing as bombing in this room with 2 people. The next comic goes on, does fine, kind of addresses it. He's like, Rooney, don't stop. It's my buddy Mike. He's like, don't stop. Your shit's great. I'm like, yeah, I'm yelling at him. I'm like, who said I was going to stop? The closer goes on after Mike, right?
Can you name him or you don't want to?
I'm not going to name her. But she's a fairly successful. I mean, she's closing this show, which doesn't mean much, but she
headlining in front of 2 people.
She recently did Fallon. You know what I mean? She goes up, and I'm sitting in the back, and I'm half like not paying attention because whatever the show's.
Do I know her or like her?
You probably don't know her, and you probably wouldn't like her just because she's a woman and you're Mick. No, I'm kidding.
You hear it here every week, folks.
But I'm like zoned out, and I am half talking to Mike, and all of a sudden I realize I'm like, wait a minute. The little girl on stage is like referencing me, and I tune in and I just hear her go, can you believe that guy? Like, how tone deaf can you be to make a joke like that when someone was just shot recently?
Put her name in the chat. I want to know who it is. I'm not going to say it.
I'll text it to you now, but I can't. But hold on.
You already texted it.
I don't know how to use this.
You already texted it to him.
I already texted it to him?
Yeah.
Oh, I did? Yeah, I did. I absolutely did.
And Mick said, I don't know her.
Okay, there we go. So,
okay, well, then leave it at that. Then I could go. Oh,
so
yeah,
she says this.
Right. Now we're having a conversation. Go on.
So she says, "Yeah, how tone deaf can you be?" That's the phrase she used. How tone deaf can you be when someone was just shot recently by a police officer? Blah blah blah. She goes, "What should we do? A GoFundMe for the cops' family?" And then she kind of moves on. But while she's saying this, which no real punchlines, just kind of criticizing my shit and shaming me, the whole room, comics and the 2 audience members are kind of like, ha ha ha, yeah. Not real enthusiastic, but like that kind of like, well, we don't want to, like, let's just show that we're, yeah. And whatever. She continues going. She does like 15, 20 minutes. And now I'm in a situation where it's like, I can't get up and leave.
Yeah, fuck her. Fuck her.
I can't yell out because that's a terrible look, and then it just seems like this guy sucks. I can't leave early because then it looks like I'm putting my tail between my legs over bombing and now being shamed over my tone-deaf material. So I just sit there till the end of the show, and I go outside and I kind of hang with the comics on the show, and I'm half waiting for her to exit. Not that I'm even going to say anything, but I certainly want to make myself there if she wants to say something to me. And nothing. Doesn't even look at me. Just leaves. So didn't want to have a conversation with me. Didn't want to maybe in private be like, hey, I don't think that joke's cool. That's kind of fucked up. Here's my perspective. No. Just shit on me in front of all these comics where there was not an opportunity for me to rebuttal or defend my bit, and in front of the club owners, which really doesn't fucking matter.
You don't have to defend your bit. There's nothing worse than these fucking woke comics out there. These fucking Seth Rogen pieces of shit.
Seth Rogen?
Fucking yeah, he went out. Seth Rogen said comics basically should. I have it here. I talked about it on Cheaper Than Therapy, which is out now. He said, here's what he said. He said, Seth Rogen doesn't understand why comedians who complain about cancel culture, if you made a joke that's aged terribly, accept it. Go fuck yourself, Seth Rogen. You over the top woke motherfucker. All these woke comics, man. There's nothing. Listen, I watched the clip. Laurie Palmentary sent me the clip from Saturday Night Live where Michael Che writes jokes for Colin Jost and vice versa.
Yeah.
They were the most racist jokes, but they were hysterical, right? But why? They were fucking brilliant jokes, right? Why were they accepted? Why did the audience laugh? Because they were written by a black guy, right? If the audience, if any of the other writers had wrote that joke that wasn't Michael Che, they would have been fired or fucking canceled.
Right, but that's the premise of the joke. The premise of the joke is this joke's written by Michael Che to make me say it live on air.
But the joke was brilliant, Dan. Like it or not, no matter who told that joke, it's a fucking great joke.
It's a great joke, but the joke works better because the premise is that Colin Jost has no idea what's about to be said.
Right. He's forced to say these things. Right.
Michael Shea too. They do it both ways. But yeah, I think that's the thing though, is I think Mick is saying because of the context, people like they have to present it that way because you can't make those jokes in an SNL sketch outright because they'd be like, what the fuck? Yeah. But if you have it set up in this certain context, then it's okay. And I agree with that. I think context is everything. However, I also think if a joke is kind of waterproof like that, you should, like, if the juice is worth the squeeze, you can get away with it. That's always what I say. You can joke about it.
Not in front of that bitch, it wasn't.
Oh, okay, hold on. Here's maybe my favorite part of this story.
So before you go on, just hold that thought. That joke you do, I thought it's beyond good. It's a fucking great bit. You deliver it so well. The intelligence in that bit is it's fantastic. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. It's a fucking great bit. And for her, who said she's a comic and she did fucking Fallon, the fact that you can't stand back and appreciate the art form just because you don't like it, just because you're a black female, right? And all of a sudden, don't worry, I'm not playing Guess Who with comics and knocking it down. Does she wear glasses, right? I'm not.
I didn't say she was black.
right. But just because you're in the moment, you're in Brooklyn, you're in the fucking heart of wokeism, right? You're right in the fucking center of it all. Just because those keywords are cops, fucking, it's tough to be a cop, all that shit.
Isn't that all? First of all, the bit, if anything, is critical of the police. Like it's on her side. Yeah. So I don't know.
They don't listen.
No, they don't.
That's
I don't understand how I can go up and start kind of sarcastically. In a way, I mean it. You know, it's a tough time to be a cop, but like that's the opposite take of what everyone's kind of taking now. So that's like, let's go down this walk of life. You know what I mean? Not every joke of mine has to be like defending the disenfranchised. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily a comedian's responsibility.
Yeah, but people here, like I had a bit and it got a great laugh when people in the audience got it, but the ratio, and I was saying just like you, and I was saying like it's tough to be a pedophile, right? Now, not condoning it whatsoever, but like that's something you can't. I think one of the lines of the joke was like you can't be in a diner with your friends go like, I like tits, I like ass. You know what I like? You know what I mean? You can't come out and say that. So again, it's not condoned. I think those guys should be fucking burned to the stake.
It's comedy. Can there be? I think you can be tone deaf in a comedy club, but it has to be like day of, bad joke, distasteful, and the idea that like I was tone deaf to say it when someone just got shot. It's like if I only did the joke when people weren't getting shot by the police, I'd never get a joke. I'd never get to tell a joke. And in a way, isn't the joke kind of like bringing that to light? Like this shit happens all the time, and then you see these silly ass things shared on social media to kind of distract from like the shit that's going on.
Yeah, these woke motherfuckers.
So check it out. My favorite part.
Go on, sorry.
This girl is the same girl that like 2 years ago, or 3 at this point, I don't know, now quarantine's got me all fucked up. I knocked her out in the 2nd or 3rd round of March Madness.
I thought you meant like knocked her out.
I knocked her out in an alleyway and stole her wallet. No, I knocked her out in a comedy competition. And I was definitely a bit of like like no one knew who I was, as I'm nobody. But like, she's winning, you know, she doesn't have to go up there and take me down a notch. What the fuck is that about?
I think the point, it's like there is that sort of posturing where you kind of have to like let people know,
posturing.
Like, but I think you know, my biggest problem is, and it's, you know, like I'm the liberal of the show and I get that, but I think that their comedy comes from a place of trying to be funny. If your goal is just trying to be funny, yes, you're gonna miss. Yes, you're gonna say some things that offend people. I have jokes that are offensive, but they're not offensive unless you happen to find them offensive. Like, you know what I mean? Like I talk about a kid dying on one of my bits, and it's like, okay, like there are people who are going to think that's funny because of the way I present it, and then there's people who are like, kid death's never funny. It's like, yep, so don't laugh, move on. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you can laugh at other stuff, just don't laugh at that. Like it's subjective, you know, like just pick what you laugh at. I think that there's obviously times where people go on stage and they say things that are designed to be like, I'm going to say this to fucking offend people, and then be like, you guys are pussies. But then there's times where it's like, this is a joke and it's set up as a joke. And if it didn't land, it didn't land, but it's not like an attack on anybody. I'm not up here to attack people, you know. Nick DiPaolo and I have very different politics. I still think he's a fucking funny comedian.
Hilarious.
Even when he says things I don't agree with. Like, Yeah, he frames things in funny ways. So I'm gonna agree with the joke being funny, even though I don't think that the topic. I agree with it. I can say if something's objectively funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these people though, like it's when you go up on stage, nobody goes up and says, "I'm out here to insult people." All jokes come from a place of, "I want these people to laugh." What happens when you laugh? You're happy. What does happiness bring? It brings fucking love. It brings everything. So your intentions are not. Yeah, we get our egos built up. If a comic says his ego doesn't get built up from killing in front of a room, he or she is full of shit. But the fact of the matter is, you leave people walk out with like fucking, I had a great time. I this, that, the other. No matter what you said, what you're saying about someone going to be offensive is it's just as annoying to me is when a comic goes up on a soapbox. You saw it all through the Trump era. And I'm like, yeah, but where's your joke, motherfucker?
Yeah.
You're saying we need change in this world. Okay, good. But punchline.
Here's what I would have loved. I would have loved her just coming up to me after the show and being like, "Hey, that's not cool. Like, let's talk about this." I would have loved that because at least it's like it's a better road than what she did. Here's what another thing she could have done. She could have kind of made the same point or shit on me or said like, "I don't think that joke's appropriate," and been funny about it. She wasn't really funny about it. I guess her other joke was like, "Should we do a GoFundMe for the cop's family?" And even that's more like, I don't know. That's not funny to me. It's
what does it tell you that she was 2 comics after you and she still brought it up?
Yeah. At that point,
it wasn't like she walked right up. Hey, what about Dan Barry? He's a piece of shit, right? It wasn't right after. It was like 2 comics ago, and that was still festering her. And she thought, well, I'll go into Brooklyn in front of no fucking audience members, just your peers, you woke motherfuckers.
Yeah, I was about saying shitting on me in front of my peers. That's fucked up.
And I'll go back and shit on them. That is just, I don't know what's the word you use when you fuck it. It's one of those new woke words that came out.
Toxic?
Was it?
Toxic?
No. That's the fucking overused word of last year. Not micro. What the fuck is it?
Microaggression?
No, it's not. It's another word we like.
Titty fucking.
Titty fucking. Yeah. That's what Seth Rogen's do. Like Seth Rogen came out in the space of 2 weeks. He said, "I will no longer work with James Franco." Like, motherfucker, that's your best friend. Just don't work with him. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to announce it because he got in trouble. I don't know what he did, so I don't want to say like he was right or wrong. Like James Franco's in the right. I'm not defending him. Something to do with grooming underage. I don't even know if they're underage. I'm just saying. So I'm not going to say what James Franco did was right or wrong. But like if one of you guys did something, right? I'm not going to go out in public and go, guys, I will no longer work with Dennis. I just wouldn't work with Dennis Rooney. Do you know what I me? So the fact he did that, and the week later saying, what was he saying?
No, go on.
Yeah, but then the fact he came out a few weeks later and he says 2 weeks later and goes, you know what? If you do a joke back in the fucking 80s and the joke was like offensive, he's basically saying you could still get canceled for it today, and you should. Do you know what I mean?
Which is wild because, like, let's see when it comes around to when the Seth Rogen shit is 20 years old. He's still, I mean, he put out stuff in like the early aughts, but like what, Freaks and Geeks, you know what I mean? That wasn't. Wait till it gets to Superbad and shit like that.
What's the one where Knocked Up was? He wrote that. Knocked Up, him and what do you call it? And there's a scene in that one where Craig Robinson is standing outside the club and he won't let her in. And she's like, "Look at you, you faggot, you fat," like all this kind of stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you wrote that, asshole. So should you be canceled for that joke? Nobody should be canceled for a fucking joke, man. It's beyond bullshit.
Now here's my question. Now that calls into the play the Tony Hinchcliffe thing, where he walked on stage and made fun of somebody for being Asian and like kind of attacked the crowd. Now here's my opinion. If you know his comedy, it's not out of bounds for him to say something like that. But is it all right to just walk on stage and make fun of the Asian host for being Asian without the Asian host having any idea that you're about to do this and not being okay with it?
It was taken out of context. I'm not defending. I don't think it was funny. So let me just start off by saying that I didn't find it funny. I wasn't offended because nothing really offends me.
Right.
But I think Asian hate was like right in the, like, was right topical right there and then, and he came out and he was playing off that.
No, I agree, but you also, to the extent that he didn't, I wouldn't say clear it because I don't think you clear jokes, right? But like, again, know your audience. Like, somebody walks off stage, like if I followed like a gay guy off stage and I had no idea who this person was, and I made jokes about him being gay, like that wouldn't be okay to me, right? Like, now maybe just to me, and maybe that's just like a personal thing, and there are other people that can pull it off, and maybe I'm just not that person. But
yeah, some can pull it off.
Right. I think that there's, in this case, it's more of like a, he put somebody else down to make himself seem funny, and it was unneeded and unwarranted. And that's where I'm kind of like, and yes, I understand the context of the joke. I watched more of like what happened, and it goes further than that. But, or I've read more of what happened where it goes further than that, where he's making fun of the idea of what's happening. But in the same token, like, you use this person as your tent pole. Is that okay in a non-roast scenario and just a show? That's a question. That's more of a question opinion. I'm not trying to say
so can I fire off a few questions, because I don't know the full context of it. I haven't seen the video, but I've heard it get thrown around a bunch recently.
Yes.
One, was it a Kill Tony show, like the live podcast he does?
No, it was a stand-up show in Texas.
Yeah. Okay, was he headlining the show, or was it like a showcase show?
He was headlining.
Okay. And this guy was the host, and when the host brought him on, Tony Hinchcliffe started saying a bunch of racist Asian shit.
Yes.
Yeah. That was like, instead of like clever, funny, it was leaning towards animosity.
Yeah. It sounded much more like slurs than funny humor.
Did it do well in the room?
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was in Austin, Texas.
And when he was calling them race traders, he was referring to like the white people in the audience giving favorable reviews.
Yeah.
Right. So, but he started off by saying this filthy. He said like a filthy, whatever. He said some sort of.
Has like the host come out like saying like, no, me and Tony know each other, we're friendly?
No,
and shit?
He was the one who was like, yeah, this is what happens when Tony Hinchcliffe follows you. Like, the comedian was pissed about it.
Oh, the comedian was pissed about it.
That annoys me too, man. That's.
I also think that you handle shit in the back. Like, if he came back,
that's what I was gonna say.
I would have put his head through a fucking wall if he picked a fight with. If he said something like awful about me when I was on stage, like walking off stage, and I couldn't defend myself.
Who did?
If let's say I introduced Tony, right? And we didn't have anything, we don't have any rapport, and he just spends like 3 minutes making fun of me, like, and I can't defend myself when I walk. I can't do anything about it. I'd probably put his head through a wall when I walked off stage if I didn't know him. You know what I mean? Like, I would undoubtedly be pissed off about it.
What if he knew who you were, where you were like, Dan, because he's a big wrestling fan. What if he got off stage and was like, Dan, it's so nice to meet. I can't really do Tony's Jerry, like, yeah.
Tony, right? Like, that's.
What are you doing, Jordan Louderback?
Rude. That's canceled.
I remember working with the first time I worked with Big J Okerson. You know what I mean? I brought him up, and then he kind of shit on me a little bit. I don't give a fuck.
Right, but it's also like like there's certain elements of there's certain people, right? Like, I'm not saying like even if Tony Hinchcliffe made fun of me, it doesn't necessarily mean I would be upset about it if it were funny. If I walked off stage and he's like, "This guy's a fucking faggot," like, you know what I mean? Like, that's where I'd be like, "What are you doing? Like, what's the bit supposed to be?"
There is a thing that we've touched on before where, like, is it okay to shit on the comic who just brought you up, or one of the comics who were on, or they were on earlier? Not in the way where this chick did to me at the show, because that show barely really consisted as a show. It was more like a meeting amongst peers where she just fucking called me out. But, like, we all know if you're friends, like, if you're good friends, then it's great to shit on the guy who brought you up or the comics who were on the show.
Right.
And then there's the thing where, like, if I bring up Dom Herrera and he shits on me and we don't know each other that well at all, obviously, maybe we've worked together a couple times, not like he even remembers me probably, but if he shits on me, that's almost like, oh, cool, that's nice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And it'll be hilarious.
Dom Herrera does that, but what he does at the end of it, he builds you back up again. I think when a comic goes up and just tries to take the wind out of your sails, like if you've had a great set,
yeah,
you know what I mean, and all of a sudden, I don't know, like afterward, you want to be remembered. You know what I mean? People come up to you, you're beside the headliner. Man, you were fucking great too. You know what I mean? What's your information? Where can I follow you? And I think if a headliner goes on after a strong person or an MC, and all of a sudden they shit on, no, this guy is fucking blah blah blah. It's like when people say like, oh, his accent is fake. I'm like, number one, I'm just sick of hearing it because it's been done a million times.
Yeah, it's not first. It's not the
but
first
number
time,
two,
right?
like it doesn't bother it doesn't bother me though. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's,
but it's also like your personality is more like whatever. Like, if there's genuine like humor involved in it, it's almost like, yeah, like if it's funny, I'm gonna. If there's a joke that doesn't land and you're making fun of me, like whatever. If it's not even a joke and you're just kind of being a dick, which is how Hinchcliffe came off. Like, here's the thing: he used that platform to make fun of the audience. He didn't use that platform to make fun of him in a fun way. He called him Asian slurs and then pointed out that they were like race traitors for supporting him. And the bit was is about the idea of like, we're supposed to, whatever it is. This is regardless where the bit goes.
Yeah, he called him a chink.
Yeah, but the more the point of it is that he was using that as a launch point to quote unquote attack the audience for being traitors.
Right.
But the idea was there was humor behind him pitching them off as traitors. But he didn't. The starting point was, let me call this guy a bunch of slurs to make fun of the audience. It wasn't, let me call this guy a bunch of slurs to make fun of the fact that I'm now calling this guy slurs, and like there's no humor behind what he was doing. It was just like that was the launch point to make fun of the crowd.
Okay, here's a question: is all forgiven if after his little opening riff about the crowd being race traitors and calling, is all forgiven if he was like, no, but in all seriousness, give it up for so and so. What a great job tonight. Blah blah blah.
It's up to that comedian, isn't it? Right?
Up to the yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Him, like if he's like, hey man.
You personally, Dan. If so, you said Tony Hinchcliffe goes up and you're ready to put his head through a wall, but then he switches gears and he's like, give it up for Dan Barry. Did you guys know he wrestles? You know what I mean? Really sets you off a little bit. Are you like getting on like, all right?
No, here's the thing. It depends. Again, it's situational, right? Like I imagine, like if Mick, you went up after me and you made fun of me, I'm not gonna be upset, like, right? But if like I'm gonna pull like I'm trying to think of like a comedian that I don't really know, but I've seen a bunch of. But like, I'll use Adam Ferrara just because he's just a person that I thought of the other day. Adam Ferrara doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. If Adam Ferrara walks on stage and starts making fun of me, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck is this guy's deal? If he then comes back and goes like, no, but seriously, he's really funny, like to give it up for Dan Barry, it's almost like, yeah, like he kind of whatever. But again, is it using to be funny, or is it just him being like, did he use that to make fun of me to tell a funny joke, or did he use that like as a way to put me down? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that's my little, and again, like there's no ego in this for me. Like at the end of the day, it's like, whatever. Like, you can make fun of me. I'm not gonna get upset if you make fun of me, but if you're doing it just to be a piece of shit, like,
but you know the difference too, right?
Right, there's a difference. I think this person in particular was like not cool with it. Personally, I would have taken care of it behind the scenes. I would have said something behind the scenes to him.
Right.
I imagine that Tony would have blown him off. Like if I were to be objective and look at this from the perspective of like, yeah, the host was very upset you made fun of him. Like, like who fucking cares? Like I'm sure he'd do that.
Yeah,
like,
we don't know what happened there. I mean, look, I think he came out guns blazing. He was trying something. I don't think he came out with anything malicious. And fuck the guy who took his phone out, recorded, and posted it. Do you know what I mean? Like fuck that guy. Do you know what I mean? But I've had altercations with two comics. One was going to end in a fist fight when I got off stage, but I'm not going to mention his name. But it had
put it in the chat.
It had been diffused by the time I got off stage. But I was getting off stage to ask him outside. And the other person is a huge movie star, and I couldn't punch her because she was a woman.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm just sorry.
Bette Midler.
That's the first one I wanted to punch.
Yep.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know the other one. I've told that story too many times. I'm not telling it again with the movie star. There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You know what I mean? To the point where I was so fucking disrespected that if she was a dude, she'd be getting, as the kids say, a knuckle sandwich.
So should I have given this girl who closed the show in Brooklyn? Should I have given her the ones and twos?
No, here's what would happen. You would have been canceled on social media because she has more following than you, and she would put out like Dana Rooney said it was supporting the cops at a.
Yep,
Brooklyn
and you should have, because it would have got people talking, and it would have got people going over to your side of it. Not even like, hey, I win all these arguments now, but it would have shined a light. This fucking, I've never seen her do stand up. I don't know who she is. She did Fallon, big fucking deal. Anyone can do Fallon nowadays, right? Anyone can do Fallon. I said the word bra and it was considered offensive for Fallon, but that's fine. You know what I mean? So it's like this fucking chick waited 2 comics in before she fucking, and she obviously festered on that and held it up till she went up to the 2 audience members who should have killed themselves, and then all the other comics who sat in the fucking audience to pretend to be audience who didn't give you respect. So she was up there flexing in front of 2 fucking losers and a bunch of other fucking assholes who fucking think they're comics, who are so up their own arse. And I probably know a bunch of them, but they can all go fuck themselves if they all sat in the audience and didn't give you attention, knowing how hard this fucking business is. Knowing the situation that you're up there in front of 2 fucking people up there, everyone else is acting, they're playing the part of an audience member just to make those 2 people. It's like a big elaborate version of Punk'd, and the only 2 people who are not in on it are those 2 audience members. And that fucking bitch should have known. She should have known well enough that to let it go or come up. So fucking what, man? Some people side with the cops, some people don't. You're going to live in a world where people just don't agree with you. You don't have to try fucking belittle somebody on stage. It's absolutely shit. And if you did that show on the roof, I would have fucking thrown the bitch off.
But so just so people who are listening who are like not comedians understand, like when we get upset about hecklers during a show because we don't want a heckler during the show, like this is why, because you're there for the show where there's a heckler. You're not there for the shows where you're doing an open mic in front of only comedians who aren't paying attention. You're just looking at your phones. You're trying jokes out. You're trying jokes in front of 2 people in the fucking basement of the tiny cupboard while there's a show above you doing 200 people. You're writing jokes that are eating shit. You're having a comedian you don't know bury you because at the end of the day, it's like, this is going to make me get brownie points in the room if I say something shitty about Dennis Rooney. You aren't there for that. So then when the person comes in and it's like, hey, talk about my dick, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of anger that comes out because we have all that built up anger of like eating shit in front of nobody in a coffee house that the patrons come in don't even realizing there's no open mic and they're just hearing dick jokes, and then you get to go up and eat shit in front of 4 people because you were the last one that got signed up and all the other comedians left to do other fucking open mics. Like, it doesn't matter. This is what happens every day. Or you're following the one guy who's playing Wonderwall at a fucking music mic because you got to tell your fucking jokes, and this guy plays the same 4 songs every goddamn time he's at an open mic. So anyway,
it sucks. There's a comic there, another friend of mine. His name I won't mention. He wasn't on the show, and he was being a pretty good audience member, I'll say too. One of the only ones in the room. He was. But he told me he's got a couple of followers on Instagram, you know, and he told me someone asked him recently, like, hey man, can you share my stuff on your Instagram? Because he's got like the swipe up. I wanted to tell him after the show, be like, hey man, can you share something on Instagram? Just say like, hey, Dennis Rooney's not a racist, in case anyone was wondering. With the swipe up, would he just swipe up if you want to know that Dennis Rooney's not racist?
You should just tweet that right now with no context. People go, what the fuck are you talking about? Guys, I'm not racist.
No,
I've tweeted things like, guys, I've had sex before. Like, I wrote that. Like, guys, I've had sex before. And people are like, okay. Like,
all right.
What's this a reference to?
Let me ask you a question, Rooney. What type of reaction did that get when she said that?
That's what that was the worst part, is that it seemed like the audience, or really the comics, were just kind of like, not like clapping like, yeah, girlfriend, not like that to that extent, but that they were kind of like laughing a little bit. Because like one of the comics that went after me made a joke, which I thought was funny. She goes, she's a very different comedian than me, and she went up and she goes, well, I'm going to be doing the same jokes Dennis did, everybody. Sorry, blah, 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 blah. Which I could take some gentle ribbing over my material not going well. That was funny. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I can laugh at that, but it felt like that. Like they were laughing along, but I don't know. To me, it had serious weight to be like, yeah, it felt like, yeah, that guy was a piece of shit. We didn't want to really admit it before, but like.
That's what she said. That's what she said.
Pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much what she said to the. She didn't say this guy was a piece of shit, but she was like, "Can you believe him? Can you believe how tone deaf he would be?" And I was like, to point out the bullshit that cops pull.
It's when you shout at kids who are filming kids playing basketball. Yeah, you're right. That's me. That's me supporting. Like, it's like, who gives a fuck? Like, it doesn't matter.
Fuck Brooklyn and all its woke bullshit. Now, I know if that was hip hop back in the 90s, I'd put a target on my chest right now. Yo, fuck Brooklyn. I represent Queens, yo. Fuck Brooklyn and all the hipster woke motherfuckers who live in it. Because that type of mentality, man, that just are out. They're missing the boat, and they're missing such a cool life. They're missing edge. They're missing fucking cold. They're missing so many cool fucking shit, and the parade is passing them by, and they're gonna end up back home in fucking wherever they're from, Illinois or some other fucking place with their curly mustaches and their fucking pipes, and fuck them and the comics that play for them. Fuck them all. They'll end up nowhere.
I did make a promise to myself. I was like, I'm going to go back and ask to do that room again in like 2 months' time.
Oh, you're better than it. You're better than that and every comic that did it.
I'll fucking, nope, I want to do that room again. And also, I'm like dedicated now. I've been working on that bit, rewriting it, adding to it. I want that to be my fucking.
You got the wrong.
I want to get it on video. I want to no. If I that's what I'm saying is I felt like shit for a day. I did. I felt like shit. Like I did not feel good about this. It's not like I left there like whatever. Blah blah blah. I was like, yo, do these people think I'm a piece of shit? Like, do these comics or did this person really think I'm like a fucking bad person because I made this joke? That is, if anything was misunderstood. Like, did they even hear it? If they're taking offense to it, but I'm like doubled down. No, this is if I got because that's the thing too is like you would if I did that joke at a comedy club recently. Where I called out a member of the audience, bald white guy with his arms crossed. I was like, "You're a cop, aren't you?" And his whole table started laughing. They're like, "He is." I've done it before. I do it not all the time, but I'll do like a spot a cop thing before I'd start doing cop jokes. So I spotted him, and then I started doing the joke, and he was not happy about it. He was like the joke did great in the room, but him and like his wife were not happy. So if the joke isn't perceived by the woke and it's not perceived well by the right, like. I must be doing something right. You know what I mean? If everyone's got their fucking panties in a bunch, both sides, then that's the road I'm going down.
I want to do that room now.
Go do the room.
I want to go and do that room and just shit for fucking 20 minutes. Like you can do 8 minutes. No. I'm up here for a while.
Just don't bring up my name. Just don't bring up my name.
I'm gonna go. I don't want all my pro-liberal stuff so I can get on Fallon, and then you fucking idiots are gonna be stuck behind.
I like the room. I want to play the rooftop. I'm all for more spaces. I like the producers of the show. Whatever, I don't judge them for laughing at her saying I'm a piece of shit, essentially. But, yeah, I want to go back and do that room again. So what have you guys been up to this past week?
We did an hour on your stuff, so I think we're done.
Yeah, I think we're done. I got to go eat some dinner.
We'll talk about hours next week.
Felt good to get this off my chest again, though.
Yeah. Don't hang up, Rooney. I want to ask you a quick question before you go.
Yeah, sure.
All right, guys. Hey, follow us social media. My name is The Dan Barry on Twitter and Instagram. You can listen to any of the other podcasts I'm on. You're not gonna listen. You're gonna listen to this one only, and that's what's important, guys. I'll be at Brokerage Comedy Club Saturday this week.
Who you with?
I don't know. I just got
with Dennis Rooney.
I got texted. Are you?
Yeah, I'm featuring there.
I'm hosting. Hell yeah.
Nice.
Me and Rooney are going to party and do crack cocaine.
Yeah.
I have some wrestling coming up. I have some other comedy coming up. Go to The Dan Barry on Twitter, Instagram to find it.
Dennis Rooney 7 on Instagram. Follow me there. Yeah, if you want, come to the Brokerage this Saturday. We'll have 2/3 of the Almost Irish podcast down there. And also check out my other podcast, Netflix Book Club.
All right. Mick Thomas. And, of course, my podcast, Cheaper Than Therapy, is available all places you get your podcast from. So check it out.
All right. Well, Rooney?
I'm not a racist piece of shit.